Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Haymarket Planning Commission for Thursday, May 17th, 2018. Roll call, please.
Hanson.
Here.
Passanello.
Here.
Cottle.
Here.
Ben Carroll.
Here.
Jay Carroll.
Here.
Shannon.
All right, if we could all please stand, pledge allegiance to the flag, and we'll remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you. You may be seated. All right, first thing on the agenda is the minutes approval from our last meeting way back in January. So I feel like we should use name tags tonight, but if you guys could look over that. All right, did I? have anybody that would like to move we accept the minutes from the January?
I will move that we accept January's minutes as written.
All right, have a
I
second?
will second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, moving on. Next up is citizens' time. If you're like to address the planning commission, you simply step forward, state your name and your address, and if you could limit it to 5 minutes, that would be great. Do we have a microphone over there? Okay.
Evening, members of the Planning Commission. Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive. I noticed that on your agenda tonight, you've got Crossroad Village Center for discussion. And you've got it set for a public hearing on Monday. And I would question the timing. This just got here last month. You've already got a hearing scheduled. You haven't looked at it. You haven't seen the plans or the stuff from the applicant yet. You haven't got any agency reviews, be they VDOT, the schools, or the county. And you're pushing this through at a rate of speed that I have never seen in any jurisdiction. 1/10 the time. This isn't ready for prime time. In looking at it, and I've reviewed the packet such that it is, as well as the staff report, a couple of things you need to be aware of. The traffic impact analysis shows 8,500 vehicle trips per day on a road that has a current vehicle trip per day count of 1,500. You're increasing it by more than 50% if you approve this, and with intersections that operate in an LOS of E. And there will be more intersections that operate in an LOS of E, if not the entirety of the road throughout town at some point in time. If you break it down to the trips per hour for the most traveled traveled hours during the day, you're looking at 500 vehicle trips an hour, several a minute. The other significant thing, and this is also not addressed in the staff report because the transportation impact isn't discussed in the staff report, is the impact on the county schools. I believe you guys got a letter from school board member Allison Satterwhite. The school division is not going to consider this matter until June at the earliest. So by pushing it through at this rate of speed, you might be taking action before the county even has time to weigh in. And one of the most heavily impacted aspects of the county, the school division, has the chance to act in, or to weigh in. Currently, Battlefield High School is operating at 141.2% capacity, plus 846 students. For those unaware, the county allowed another application down the road, John Marshall Commons, the other night, which is going to contribute more students to Battlefield. The UVA Foundation is breaking ground on their houses this month. More kids. Dominion Valley is building more townhouses. More kids. Heathcote's got construction. More kids. The school system cannot handle a single additional child until the 13th high school is built. Even that is in question because it's likely that the 13th high school will provide no relief to Battlefield. Any additional residential above and beyond what's already by right is irresponsible, both on behalf of the town and on behalf of the county, and I'll address that issue with the county separately. Similarly, the applicant's asking for a waiver to construct a building up to 75 feet in height in the exact same place that the town fought a power line at 100 feet because in part because it blocked the view shed. What do you think a 75-foot hotel / elder care facility is going to do to the view shed on that part of town? You won't see the mountain. Further, the applicant's asking for 3 drive-through restaurants, a drive-through bank, a sit-down restaurant, a gas station, and an auto repair. If you think the traffic is bad from Chick-fil-A, you haven't seen anything yet. This is not an appropriate mixed-use development. The narrative presumes that the townhouse residents will work elsewhere. Thus, there's no traffic reduction, as is typical of a work, live, and play environment or mixed-use proposal. The relatively low wages paid by the retail uses and the restaurant uses will not afford the income necessary for people to purchase townhouses and work within that complex. The construct just doesn't work. And then you've got some problems within the proffers and the narrative itself regarding the townhouse height. You've got two different sets. You've got a legitimate set within the narrative, and you've got a set that is not acceptable under current ordinance in the proffers. And in case anybody's forgotten, it's the proffers that control. So the proffers need to be rewritten. Lastly, because I don't want to take more than my 5 minutes, I met with a local developer at the behest of the county, had breakfast with him last Wednesday. In discussing a multitude of issues, he told me that he was presented with this project, as was every other developer in Loudoun and Prince William County. And they all turned it down. They turned it down because in their professional opinion, the project was unfeasible, both from a flow, construction, and capitalization standpoint. The only way that they thought that this project could be carried off was if you capitalized the townhouses by building all of the townhouses and then deciding whether or not you wanted to proceed with the construction of the commercial units, with the likelihood that that wouldn't happen, and that you would just build the townhouses and leave and not build the construction, or not construct the commercial units. That seems to be underscored by the narrative and the proffers in that there is no phasing plan attached to this. There is no guarantee that the commercial aspect ever gets written. So if you're going to consider this prior to acting upon it, you should ask the applicant, require the applicant to insert a proffer that requires phasing for the commercial. In fact, phasing such that he doesn't even get all of his residential units. He only gets a portion of them until he completes at least a portion of the commercial units. That's the only reasonable thing to do. You need to consider everything here. What the impact is from a traffic standpoint, what the impact is from a quality of life standpoint, what the impact is on the schools. Do anything less and rush this through is just unconscionable. And then last but not least, I would note that in your packet it has a motion for you guys to forward this with recommendation for approval. Tonight, that recommendation is inappropriate. You cannot do that as you have not had a public hearing yet. So that option's off the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weir. Any other citizen like to speak?
Good evening.
Evening.
Paula King, 6934 Little John Court. The number one question that comes to mind for me is, does this fit? And I think that I would encourage you all to consider that. I walk this town every day. You've probably seen me out there. I walk 3 to 5 miles a day. And I think it's going to change my way of life. You put that type of rezoning up there, I don't know that I'm going to be able to walk this town like I do now. When I moved to the town in 2004, I was one of the participants, one of the very few residents who participated in the charrette. The whole point of that charrette, what came out of it was that this was going to be a walking town. This does not fit with a walking town. 3 more additional fast food places. Nobody's walking to a fast food place. It doesn't fit. I mean, let's think about that. I mean, a healthy lifestyle doesn't fit with 3 additional fast food restaurants. So Haymarket, 1 square mile needs 5 fast food restaurants? That doesn't fit. As it is now, if I'm driving my vehicle, it's very hard for me to get out of Green Hill Crossing on St. Paul. If I want to take a left, I have to wait and wait and wait. How is that going to be if I have to compete with people who are going to 3 fast food restaurants, people who are going to a hotel, and not to mention 80 new townhouses who have residents in it? How am I going to get out of my neighborhood? You can't put a stoplight there. There's no room. I'm very concerned about that. Not to mention that I like the speed limit sign that's outside of Haymarket Baptist, But I will tell you that on a regular basis, I turn around to see how fast those cars are going, 44 miles an hour and higher. That's 1 mile off of a reckless driving through this town. What's that going to look like with all of these other people coming through the town? My son, who's 13, who wasn't born when I participated in the charrette, he loves to walk up into town with his friends. I don't know if I'm going to feel comfortable with all of this additional building up there. It's already dicey for him to get to Chick-fil-A. Never mind any other additional uses up there. I would really encourage you just to ask yourselves the question, does it fit? Does it fit in this town? Does all of this fit? And I appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, any other citizen? All right, seeing none, we will close citizens' time. Thank you. All right, ma'am, you're up.
First item of business, we need to work on our comprehensive plan. It's been expired for 5 years, so I'd like to set a work session date.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have one in mind. I was hoping for something as early as June.
What day were you thinking?
I'm okay with doing it before our June 6th meeting. If that fits for everyone's schedule, we can start at 6 and just kind of figure out what we need to do, where we're going to start.
Our regularly scheduled meeting for that month will be on the 6th, which is Wednesday as usual at 7, correct?
Correct.
Can you guys do the 4th?
No, cannot.
June 4th will be a town council meeting.
That's right.
And I'm traveling June 6th.
And I'm open to other dates. If we need to push it, that's fine. I can send you guys stuff via email. We can, start thinking about what needs to be done. I can come up with a task list, and we can go from there. But I would like to set a work session.
What are your all's availability? Because I'm sure when you all travel, both of you go.
We're leaving on the 8th.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
leaving on the 8th for a week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all probably is.
How about towards the end of June? I know you'll be out of the country for a bit.
Something at the
When
end.
will you be back? Or when will you?
July 5th, I will
When do
be
you
back.
leave?
June 6th.
Okay. So week of the 18th through the 22nd work for you all?
It's here with us all the way.
In the evening?
No, not in the evening.
Okay, so we could do it then.
We could do an evening then.
Okay.
The only date we can't do that week is the 20th. It's a regularly scheduled ARB meeting, and we have a tentative work session that night.
How about Monday, the 18th? Would that work for you all?
I think so.
I think so.
Could we go at like 5 o'clock that
Sure.
day just to bump it up?
No, we can't.
We can do as early
Huh?
as you.
No,
No, we
we're
still have
picking
to.
up our grandson at 5 from camp, so it'd have to be later than that.
7?
Yes.
All right, let's just go for 7.
June 18th,
Yep. PC work session
7 p.m.
on Monday, the 18th.
Okay.
And I will plan that we will have one item on the agenda, and that'll be the comprehensive plan.
Okay. And you'll send out some stuff for us to
Yes.
review prior to
I'll
that.
send material for you to review 2 weeks prior on June 4th. So, once I send that out, if you guys have questions or comments, or you need additional material, you want different things, just let me know, please.
It's a little late, but we've had 5 canceled meetings out of the last 7 months. Any one of those regularly scheduled meetings would have been good and a good time to start this. It's like locking the barn doors after the horses are gone, I realize. But rather than cancel future meetings, I would say let's work on the comprehensive plan.
All right. Any other thing in regard to that? All right, let's move on to the Crossroads Village Center discussion.
You guys mind if I turn those off?
Nope, you're good.
So there's obviously been some discussion about the Crossroads Village Center project. So I wanted to provide a presentation tonight for you guys. First, I want to make a couple statements. In your packet, you do have a staff report. There is a motion in there. That is not intended for tonight. That is for the public hearing on Monday night. And I apologize that it was attached in there, but it was, in preparation for Monday night's meeting.
Right. I mean, we can't make a recommendation of a public hearing anyway.
Correct. So, to get us started, the existing site, as many of you know, but I'm going to state for our citizens who joined us here, is the large tract of lands right beside Chick-fil-A and Giuseppe's, and it stretches back to Interstate 66. It's approximately 21 acres. It has 2 parcels, and it's bordered by Route 15, 66, Washington Street, and then residential homes to the east, and then to the west you have commercial. It's currently zoned B2. Business Commercial District in our zoning ordinance calls for a more intense use of commercial and industrial uses away from the town center, being this site here. Commercial uses located in this district, while traditionally being oriented to automobile traffic, are intended to have a sufficiently high standard in site layout, design, and landscaping to minimize traffic congestion and on accessory roadways, and to minimize the impact of high volume of traffic at the interchange. The reason I want to state this is anybody can come right now, today, they can turn in a zoning permit application to me, and they can do any B2 use on that site. They don't have to go through specific, rezoning special use if it's listed up here. These are all of the by right uses that somebody can come apply for first thing tomorrow morning when we open our doors. So I just want it to be stated for the record. You can put a gasoline station there by right. You can put a fast food restaurant without a drive-through. You can also put a really cute boutique, something that's very walkable. But at the same time, you can have a liquor store. There's a lot of different uses, and unfortunately, we want to pick the ones that we want. We want certain ones in town. We all have a personal vision of how we see our town, but we can't decide and we can't say no if it's on this list right here. This is what we allow per ordinance we approved back in 2017.
Emily, just a question. In the definition, though, it has have sufficiently high standard in site layout, design, landscaping to minimize traffic congestion on accessory roadways and minimize the impact of high volume of traffic at an interchange with adjacent land uses.
Correct.
That would be almost in conflict with some of these. That's an inherent conflict.
It would be in conflict of our by right uses. I do agree.
Right.
Putting a gas station right there up on the front, I believe at one point there was a gas station on close to
There
that
was.
site,
There was a
maybe
Quarles
CVS. Yeah, Quarles. So
Sheets.
that would then, allow for that right turn in. You'd have probably poor traffic flow. They wouldn't put it at the back of the site. They'd want it up front. So that's in direct conflict of kind of what we wish to see based on our definition there.
So that would take discussion and voting, et cetera, even though it's
Unfortunate-
by right?
Unfortunately, it wouldn't. It's by right.
Okay, so the specifics are by right, but the number of them is not by right.
No, it's a by right use that we check off on. Now, what does come up is the site plan. So when they come in and they bring our site plans to us, then you'll have all the layout. You can look at VDOT will look at the entrances and the exits. They will determine the turn lanes, if there's a need for a turn lane, how big the entrances and exits need to be. So all of that traffic flow, that will be determined by VDOT.
And it could conflict with by right.
It could, but most likely not.
It sort of brings into question why even have a planning commission if you're going to say it's all, it seems to me you're saying it's all okay.
No, I'm saying these are all approved uses. They still have to bring a site plan that you guys review. And I have in here, you know, exactly the things we look at, but I'm just letting you guys know that these are uses we allow here. We cannot say, no, you can't put a gas station there, because then they're gonna get their attorney and they're gonna say, it's right here in your zoning ordinance that it's a by right use. Why are you telling me no? So we have to then look at it for traffic and for other buffering, and as long as they meet traffic, buffering, all those kind of check boxes, that's when.
Department,
Fire department.
educational, proffers.
Educational, yeah.
So they do have a lot of constraints.
Mm-hmm.
And within your paragraph, you did, excuse me, I didn't mean
That's
to.
fine.
There are subjective elements that you just read.
And this is pulled right from our zoning ordinance. This is the definition that whomever, I guess the planning commission in Berkeley and the previous planner came up with. So, yes, there are some things that are subjective there.
Right. And that's to be debated or considered, even though it's a by right use. Okay.
So I'm gonna continue on. It's kind of long. It's right there for you guys. So special permit uses, you'll see in the application tonight, you have some for a fast food restaurant. They want to put drive-throughs, just like Chick-fil-A did. You also will have a auto repair service. So that's listed here on your special permit use. And your building height, they also put a drive-through bank. The reason the bank special use permit application is in front of you is because it is a drive-through. So you guys are all familiar with our current zoning map. I just wanted to point out, kind of, let's put it all in perspective. The entire parcel is B2, so again, this allows the business development to go all the way back to Interstate 66. This would then put business development abutting the Sherwood Forest neighborhood in the back corner, 3 residential properties on Fayette Street, another commercial property, a Dog's Day Out, and Giuseppe's. And then on your western property line, you're going to have the Chick-fil-A and the CVS is going to border it. So the uses there would be pretty complementary. On the north property line, you have Interstate 66. There's so much there with the right-of-way. Just beyond it, you'll have the Robinson's Paradise project. If they ever come back in for final approvals and everything, that'll happen. But there are walls up, so that's not quite going to affect this property. And then you're going to have south of the property line, on the other side of Route 55, you have the industrial zone. The only parcel here not zoned industrial, I guess there's 2. You have the Foster's building, and you will have the Bloom building, which has Cupcake Heaven in it. And then a little kind of catty corner there, you're going to have Winterham. And Winterham does have commercial on the bottom and residential on the top. So looking at our comprehensive plan and how this application kind of meets what we set forward, we have a planned land use map up here, and the zoning is planned interchange park. So I just pulled this right from the comprehensive plan that was done. And basically what it's stating is it includes, and the planned interchange park includes a mix of commercial, office, professional, and retail uses around common parking facilities. Vehicle access would be carefully designed, and adequate landscaping and screening would be required to minimize potentially adverse impacts on surrounding land uses. And at the time that this was written, approximately 45 acres were designated for this land use. So if you look here, it's going to be everything you see in brown. So it's the property in question, it's Chick-fil-A, it's CVS, it's Winterham, the Bloom Building, Piedmont Tire and Auto, Foster's, Food Lion, McDonald's, and Sheetz. All of that would be planned interchange. As we all know, on the south property line, everything's been developed. So there's no option to do a unified development like the comprehensive plan calls for. So the main two concepts that I took from the comprehensive plan were that the concept revolves around the idea that highway-oriented development needs to be planned as a whole, and cluster development includes the mix of commercial, office, professional, and retail uses around the common parking facilities. So this is very typical of kind of this new mixed-use development that we're seeing popping up in many places. So up to this point, are there any questions on the comprehensive plan, the by right uses, special uses?
Well, the planned interchange park, the definition does not include residential,
It does not.
townhouses, et cetera.
Correct.
And there's 149 of them planned for this area.
No, ma'am, there are
No.
only 79 townhomes.
79 rather, yes. But there are.
Correct. And so what they did is they did apply for a rezoning application that does not meet our comprehensive plan comprehensive plan. So they are aware that that's not included in the planned interchange part.
Okay.
So, any other questions before I move on to the next part?
I do have one question.
Okay.
So by right now, they could have mixed use that would front Route 55, Washington Street?
Correct.
And-
With that, if I may, their site plan would also include having to put their street improvements in, their enhancements, their sidewalks, everything there, even if it was a totally different developer and a different use from you.
Right. So do you have any idea how many in Winterham, how many residential units are above that?
Yes.
How many are there?
I believe there's approximately 8 in that section right there. The pad site across from the existing one, if that were to go up, there'd be additional 8. If the one behind School of Rock goes in, that'll bring the total to 48 apartments in
Okay.
that small complex right there. So that also brings residents to the area. It brings a stress on our school system, but it is allowed by right to have the accessory apartments up there on the second story of commercial.
So given the fact that this is a longer distance, by right, they could probably, I mean, we'd have to do the numbers, but it wouldn't be unrealistic to say 30 to 40 units.
Correct. So if, I believe there's some developments like this in Fairfax County, I'm thinking kind of Reston area, where they've come in and they've put small boutique shops on the bottom, small restaurants, and then everything above 2 and 3 stories is residential apartments or combo kind of condo units, so you'll have the 2 floors there. I believe this is very similar to, I believe there's Harris Teeter right up the road, and they have that kind of mixed-use development. So it would definitely allow for residential units on the entire property there.
Right, I know the Mosaic District
Yes,
has this.
Mosaic
That's
District.
probably one of the new, anyway, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Absolutely. So this is a very simplified planning process snapshot, but the GDP that they submitted is just a generalized development plan. It is not in any way a site plan. It is just a concept plan so that when they submitted the application and the narrative, you have an image to go with what they're stating. So they're still going to have to go through all the site planning process, architectural review board, final site plan approval, bonding, and the development or building department. So landscaping wasn't shown on the GDP. They have submitted a secondary GDP. It's hanging up in our front foyer here that does show some landscaping. Councilman Shannon actually had some concerns originally with the landscaping buffer between the R2 and the proposed R2. So they did tweak that a bit to show. So, just a reminder, our special use permit process, we do want to look at the traffic, we want to look at how it affects the public health and safety and general welfare of our community as a whole. We want to look at the kind of the purpose and the intent of this zoning district. And then kind of the utility, the drainage, the parking. You guys know this process, but for those who don't. For the rezoning, they want to look at the existing use and the character of the area, the suitability for the property for various uses, the growth or the change in the area, current and future requirements of the town, transportation, and conservation. All of this is addressed in the staff report that I gave you guys, and I can certainly provide more information, but that is there for you. So, lastly, for rezoning, you also have conditions as part of the rezoning or zoning map amendment. So these are the proffers. If you looked at the, well, we'll get to it in a second. So, I'm gonna kind of introduce the Crossroads Village application package. You guys all have a snapshot of the GDP, which is up here. It is very, very, very similar to the Fairgrounds application that was submitted previously.
How long ago was that, Emily?
That was 2016, and I believe they started working on it in 2014. Originally, where you see the Western restaurant, over here on the leftmost side, they had a Lidl grocery store that was going to go in here. The residential was, I believe, 120 townhomes, so it extended further down, and they had some of the same pad sites laid out. With this GDP, as you guys know, they submitted a rezoning application, a special use permit, the development narrative, the proffer statement, and a traffic impact analysis. I'd also like to let you guys know VDOT has responded to the traffic impact analysis that was submitted. They did their first round of comments. I can share them with you. And then the traffic engineer has already addressed the comments and sent them back for its second round of review. So the request we have in front of us tonight, well, not tonight for a decision, we're just, discussing it, is to rezone 9.94 acres from B2 to R2. This is a down zoning. Typically, when you have a down zoning, you think of this as a less intense use. It will replace the back corner of the property that meets up with Sherwood Forest with R2, and 79 townhomes will go in. And then we have our special use permit request, the automobile repair, the drive-through bank, the 3 drive-through restaurants, and the 1 building height in excess of 50 feet. The building height will be approximately 6 stories when it's all said and done. And with this application, they submitted the proffer statement. If you turn to page 21 of your packet, you can kind of see all the proffers that they put in here. I just grabbed a couple for a small snapshot of what was stated.
We really need lights to be able to see it. Thank you.
So they're proposing a single unified development. They're going to come to the ARB with a whole design guideline packet, and it's going to be modeled off of the Percival Gateway Center that's done out there. So they want the whole development to be kind of this uniform look. It's all going to tie in together. Throughout the entire development, they're going to have the sidewalks, crosswalks, tree, landscaping, buffers, all of it's going to be kind of this unified look. That is something that our comp plan does address, that is the goal and the concept here. Parks and Rec for each townhome, they're going to proffer $3,792. Public safety will get a proffer of $280 per residential townhouse. Town administration, $171 per townhouse. Transportation, I briefly listed this, but I would like everyone to look at package page 23. In here, they proffer the construction of the turn lanes, the construction of the 4-foot wide island that's going to go in. They proffer a dollar amount for each townhouse unit. They proffer a traffic signal. They proffer crosswalks, and they proffer the brick walk along Washington Street. So this transportation proffer will connect from Haymarket Baptist. Eventually, when we get our park sidewalk put in, it's going to connect the entire length of our town all the way over to Walmart. It's going to provide that much needed sidewalk to Chick-fil-A, so you don't have to cross back and forth Washington Street, especially at the crosswalk we have now at Chick-fil-A where it's not safe. You have no signal, you have no protection really from the speeding cars. So that will be in there. Fire and rescue has a proffer, and the schools also have a proffer. So I did speak with someone who's reviewing the plan for the schools, and they stated that the proffers will have to address the increased capacity at the schools. They didn't state exactly how, but in the past, some proffers were given for Sherwood Forest that went to Ronald Reagan to purchase a scoreboard, and others went for technology at the elementary school. So we don't decide. We tell the schools, you know, here's the money, and they choose what they're going to spend it on for increased capacity, and then they give us the invoices. So that's the proffer statement section. And one question was raised by Commissioner Passanello about why did they not submit an alternative. So when they purchased this property from the previous owner, B.M. Smith, they had the fairgrounds application on hold with the town. And with this application, it was the same GDP layout aside from the grocery store. So they wanted to pick this back up and continue with it. There is an option they could present an alternative if it's requested of them, but I just wanted to put out here some pros and cons of both the alternative and the current submission. So a pro would be it'll greatly expand our commercial uses in town. For 50 years, I think that parcel has been a grassy field, if not longer. So this would bring a lot of commercial business. It would be a great location off Interstate 66 and 15. You know, businesses looking to expand and be close to transportation routes. As long as it fits, it'll work. And it also has the potential for the by right accessory apartments above the commercial and the retail, so it could still make it this kind of mixed-use development in there. Some cons of if it was all business, and this is just kind of looking at it very generically. The parcel is very deep. I'm not sure businesses and shops, restaurants that get stuck in the very back would have very good visibility unless you're driving by on 66. And at that point, you've already passed the exit, but maybe you'll remember to come back. So the visibility could be a bit of a struggle in the back portion. We would have businesses that back up to Sherwood Forest, so we will need to really look at landscape buffers here. Currently, I believe the landscape buffer is about 20 to 40 feet. I would have to look at the exact number, but we would have to take this into consideration. There's always going to be traffic. We can't tell someone who owns their land that you can't develop here. We have to deal with the traffic through controlling measures, and this is where VDOT comes in for their review. They determine the levels of service, and they determine what needs to be done to have a level of service that works. So, unfortunately, you know, as the town planner, I can't say, I'm sorry, you can't build this because it's going to bring more traffic. All we can do is work with our outside agencies to work on these mitigation measures. The commercial businesses, if it went on all 21 acres, it would be very reliant on vehicular traffic, I feel. And the reason why is, as previously stated by Citizen, you're not necessarily going to walk up to a drive-through, but are you going to walk all the way back as well? So, how far are you willing to walk? And all of our residents are on the eastern end, except for, Sherwood Forest, but they'll still have to walk down Fayette Street and around. So it's kind of one of these, you're very reliant on a vehicle. It's also kind of the Nova lifestyle. We want a walkable town. We want these sidewalks. We want a unified development that provides us sidewalks. And then we still have our potential for school overcrowding if the developer who came in with all business wanted to put an accessory apartment above. So now I want to look at the current proposal. We do still have pros and cons. It still is going to expand our commercial business offerings in town. It could provide us this mixed-use development with residential and commercial. The residential uses are seen as a support system for the commercial within that development. These could become restaurants, medical offices, local neighborhood convenient business types that would support the day-to-day happenings for these residents. The rezoning will the R2 zoning will back up to the R2 neighborhood in Sherwood Forest. So it'll provide a kind of a more gentle buffer zone. We'll still be requesting landscaping buffers between the homes and the townhomes, but it'll at least be the same zoning back to back. So you're going to have residence to residence. The development has the potential to create a destination within the town. I think sometimes, unfortunately, our town is known as one you just drive through. And I think all of us can say out of the good of our heart, we don't want that. We want to be a destination. We want to be known for something. We want to be walkable. We want to have this historic presence. And so I think this development could provide that. It all depends on the uses they put in. And it's going to increase the walkability of our town. Whether it gets developed as all business, commercial, or as a mixed use, it's going to put the sidewalks in that we desperately need to provide the connections that's going to get our residents who currently walk safely up and down. And I think we pride ourselves on wanting to be a healthy, heal community that walks. So no matter what happens, this walkability thing I think is something we want to go for. Cons, you're still going to have the traffic. It's all addressed in the TIA. It can be mitigated and controlled. We just have to work again with our outside agencies. The schools will be overcrowded. I think this is something we know, but it goes through the school system for their review. The 13th high school is slated to open in 2021. Yes, it is mainly going to address Stonewall Jackson and Patriots overcrowding. Battlefield is overcrowded by 850 students. These are facts that they will openly state to everybody. And they are planning a 14th high school. It's not going to happen in 4 years. It's maybe not going to happen in 10. But these are all things that the school system is looking at as well. They control and look at all their development data. They take these things into account. So again, that's an outside agency. We have to rely on their comments. And then the building height, they are requesting a 75-foot building. It will be the tallest structure in town. The area, if you drive and you look at it, it is a lower portion of the parcel, but that aside, it's 6 stories in height. So it will provide some blockage of the mountain view. You're still going to be able to look down Washington Street though and have your view out. This hotel is going to sit back on the interstate ramp, so it's going to be closest to the exit ramp. It's
we
up
have
for
a-
discussion. There's gonna be other things that I think can help screen it with the townhomes. If you're in Sherwood Forest and you look over, you're gonna have townhomes, you're gonna have a stormwater feature. They're hoping to do fountains and other kind of very natural green vegetation there. So there are gonna be other elements of the development that will help screen this. The actual materials of the hotel or assisted living facility might even blend in, depending if it's rock, things like that. So that's up for discussion with the ARB if approved, but it is very much going to be a 6-story building. So, and then one other thing, Commissioner Passanello asked about some tax revenue options, so I wanted to include this for everybody to see. There is potential here for tax revenue. Just a little snapshot for you. This isn't set in stone. This might not be something the town sees for 5 to 10 years, but it is out there. So with that, I have this slide to help us kind of guide some discussion items for tonight, but are there any questions first?
Well, on the plan, it says hotel or assisted living, and there's a huge difference in terms of tax income, and there's also a huge difference in terms of, say, the number of stories. Would both be 6 stories,
Correct.
which, so, I know you said that's a generalized plan, and we certainly can't vote on anything generalized. We'd have to vote, when we do vote, on specifics.
So what you would be voting on is a special use permit for a building height in excess of 50 feet to be 75 feet for a 6-story building. They're not going to specify the hotel or assisted living. They're leaving it lumped together for the time being. Because they too don't know, but they do know it's going to be a 110-room building.
So they could go either way, and we would have no say about that.
Correct. They both are allowed by right. So they can do nursing home, life care facility is the 2 terms we use in our zoning ordinance, or they can do the hotel.
If we not give them the height, would they do the hotel?
I think they would more likely need the height for the hotel than the assisted living, but I don't know. It all depends on what hotel chains they're talking to.
But we won't know that.
Now, on Monday night, when they come and they present and they have a discussion, they may state more, but at this moment, I don't know.
Is there any business concretely that we know that is coming? The 3 fast food restaurants, the bank, the
No.
auto repair thing?
Unfortunately not. They did not share that with me. But again, they might state it on Monday night. I think they were talking to Virginia Tire and Auto, and that was the only name that was mentioned to me.
Okay. So half the property will go to residential,
You know, a little less, but about half.
half. And just for an update, I don't know if anybody heard the John Marshall Commons, unfortunately got approved for 144 townhomes. So we'll be looking at that right on the other side of us.
It did get approved. I guess it depends on how you look at it, if it's a positive or a negative for town. But also, we have to keep in mind, it's not fair for our residents to deny an application in town because of what happened out of town. We have to also think about how we as a town can move forward, so.
I don't know what VDOT has said about all of these drive-throughs, all of these that are going to basically go out on our major streets. I feel like I have way too insufficient
Okay.
information.
May I share with you
Yes.
VDOT's comments? So they wanted them to verify the northbound PM peak hour traffic count for Washington Street and Jefferson Street. And I'll make copies and hand these out before
Okay.
you leave. in Figure 5 showing 137 vehicles compared to 206. There's a discrepancy in rerouting of traffic in Figure 16, so the northbound left turn lanes at Food Lion entrance and Washington Street. The traffic volumes along various intersections should be corrected for the rerouted traffic. They should show the removal of northbound left turn lane movement instead of removal of non-existent left turn lane at Food Lion and Washington Street. And it's not understandable that the level of service and delays would decrease for an eastbound approach at Route 15 and Route 55, so coming into town, with an increase in traffic volumes for future conditions. And then they make a comment about the signal timing and the phasing as a non-acceptable mitigation. So they stated in there that they would time it a certain way, and all VDOT came back with was that you can't individually time a traffic signal. It's a bigger network you have to consider. And then they make another statement about the new signal and saying it is warranted at that site, and that they need to look at different VDOT requirements for that signal. And then they said the conclusion should be clearly outlined, the list of improvements that the developer is responsible for. So they did not make any comments on the drive-through uses. And then the traffic engineer came back with their round of responses and submitted that to VDOT. So I will have Shelley make copies of these for you.
And there will be a crosswalk with a push button for people to go
Correct.
back and forth.
There will be one across Washington Street, and then there will be one on the other side as well.
Okay.
Across Washington over and then Costello.
I feel that the whole process is very rushed. That's the way I'm feeling, that we have a lot of information very quickly to make a quick decision, and I don't feel I can do any due diligence with this a massive amount of information, some of which is conflicting. And I'm just saying that for the record because it feels like in this job I should be doing due diligence, and we should have adequate time to prepare and vet this and discuss this. And this is not adequate.
I agree. I'm looking forward to talking at least with the developer, because, you know, and I'd like to at least digest that before I vote on it.
Absolutely.
What do you see as the destination that this is going to do for Haymarket?
So, I mean, it all depends on what businesses they can get to come in and what restaurants they can get to come in. It also depends on how you define a destination. We're not going to have Disney over here, but at the same time, you know, maybe we have a really nice restaurant that comes in, something like out in Percival. They have, in that development that they're mocking this off of, they have the Wine Kitchen and Hearth restaurant. This is a converted old barn. It's something that people travel specifically there for, to have this sit-down meal. It's an intimate setting. So it's one of those, I think if we have the right restaurant users come in, it could make it a destination. If we have the hotel, the hospital over here can easily send patients, families, people who are here for training,
Medical conferences.
You know, medical
yeah.
conferences. It could become a conference center that then gives it a destination for the hospital users, the other larger businesses that need to put people up when they're here. So there aren't many hotels on this end. There are some over in Gainesville, but I think we're far enough away that it could provide a really needed use out here, especially with all the other development happening as people have families come and need a place to stay. So
I like your definition, and I'm happy with the way you answered the question. Second thing growing out of that, though, is in what way does that add to the idea of Haymarket being a walking town? Which of these, as portrayed on this schematic, are we going to walk to? We're not going to walk to get our car fixed. We're
Right.
not going to walk to bring our kids to childcare. We don't go to
So-
hotels
Right.
walking.
So if we have our restaurant uses come in, we have kids who do walk up and down the street to go to the restaurants when mom and dad can't drive them. We have people who maybe live in town, they don't have a license yet, but they want to have a part-time job. People are waiting to get their licenses. They have a place to walk to their job. They can walk up to, maybe some boutiques will come in. They haven't stated what businesses will be there, but they have stated that we're going to have these business paths. So we could have boutique businesses, we could have clothing stores. It's all open to the different uses that people can walk to. I know people who walk to Walmart to do their grocery shopping. It's not what everyone does, but there are the select few who want to lead that healthy lifestyle and walk. Just because I think an auto repair use goes in, we can't say that's not walkable. If you live down the street and your car breaks down, drop it off, get it towed, you can walk to go pick it up. I'm not saying that's a justification, but it makes it a convenience factor when we have these sidewalks and these amenities and these conveniences that we offer to our residents.
There's a big difference between an auto mechanic and a boutique restaurant, winery.
Absolutely. Mhm.
And it's kind of saying, let's buy a pig in a poke here, because they could put in a whole bunch of gas stations. And saying,
Like,
they
don't
have a by right.
They don't have any proposed, so I think that's, if you don't want another gas station, if we look at the GDP here, they don't have any gas stations proposed on here. They only have an automobile repair service, and that would be a mechanic shop. So,
But you could also say, we're going to have just one automobile, but we can't get a boutique with a winery, so let's put a gas station in, because we've already given them carte blanche to do whatever they want to do.
but we can't at the same time. So someone can come in tomorrow and they can say, I want to apply for a gas station zoning permit on that site. And I cannot deny them, and I can't say no, because that is a by right use, and I will have to say, please fill out the zoning permit, please provide me with a site plan that I will then review, and if it meets my zoning ordinance, I will then take it to the planning commission, they will check off their boxes, and then you're approved. So I can't deny a gas station, I can't deny a boutique restaurant with a winery. The only thing I can do is bring you guys a automobile service special use permit and have you guys look at that and say, Emily, this really doesn't fit with what we want, or this does fit, and here's these 3 reasons based on what we were asked to review. So it's,
But we don't even have that at this point.
We don't have,
Will we have it on Monday night?
they're gonna come and they're gonna present, but you do have a special use permit application asking for automobile repair service. And what they're asking you to do is consider the, let me pull it up. So they're asking you to consider these 6 items and make a decision as a planning commission. Does it or does it not satisfy these following standards? And if it does, you refer it. If it doesn't, you refer it with a denial. So you do have that in front of you tonight for review. They are not legally bound to give a description and say Starbucks is coming in with a drive-through, Sonic's coming in, Wendy's is coming in, because we don't require that, and we can't say no because there's a Starbucks across the street. We can't say no on the user. We can only say no on the use if it doesn't meet our zoning ordinance.
but a special use is really an exception to, in some way. And all the special uses, I'm on this board, say, 3+ years now, they would describe the special use. They would have a history. They would have some sort of a running narrative about it. And these are basically blank checks.
So
So
I can
these,
have them describe a drive-through restaurant, but I think I think it's a very simple, it's a restaurant that has a drive-through window. You pull up, you can make your order at a box, you go up to the window, you pay, you receive your food. Drive-through bank, again, I can have them describe this in full detail, but again, it's a bank, you pull up, you speak with a teller, you can give them your checks, you can get money back, you can have that transaction from your car and they're inside. Automobile repair service, again, I can have them describe this in full detail, but you take your car there, it needs a repair, you get it serviced, you pick it up. Building height in excess of 50 feet. They want to build a building that's going to be up to 75 feet so that they can accommodate 110 rooms on that site.
I'm thinking of a SUP a few years ago for a woman who wanted to make cookies and cakes in her house. And we had a huge discussion about how that would add to traffic on the street and how cars parked. And this was just a wee bakery in a house. It wasn't a drive-through bakery. It was, how many cars are going to park in her driveway or on the street to impact the neighborhood?
And that was
a huge discussion. It's not a drive-through, though. It's
That was
not
most
analogous.
That was most likely because it was in a residential neighborhood, and you have a family here and here, and if they have 5 cars parked in front of their house in their driveway, and then they have a graduation party and nobody can park, that's then where you're getting into that nitty-gritty. But over here, you're on a commercially zoned parcel of land, and you can already have all these uses. So I think the discussion becomes a little less about how does it impact each and every single neighbor, and this is how does it impact the entire parcel as a whole, what's across the street, what's adjacent, and what's the traffic flow going to be.
And we don't even have answers with VDOT. There obviously, I'm hearing, when you read it, all sorts of issues VDOT is raising, and so we're supposed to make some sort of SUP determination without real VDOT input. I mean, that's what I mean. I just feel like this is raced, rushed, inadequate information, for me at least, to make a decision. My decision would be if I don't have enough, I can't make an intelligent decision. I'm not doing due diligence. I understand neighborhoods, but VDOT understands a lot more than I do.
And their traffic engineer will be here to give you a presentation on the traffic impact, so, I mean, VDOT's comments, I think, in my opinion, I'm not a trained professional traffic engineer. I think they were pretty minor. They previously had this traffic impact analysis done in 2016, so it's very similar to what the fairgrounds presented before, but they will have someone here to speak to that Monday night.
All right, other comments?
No, I do not have it. No comment. Let's see how things goes, and we cannot hold all the time. Like they're coming in. Let's see what's our mixed-use plan, or comprehensive plan, and if they're appropriate, more business has to come in the town.
I agree with more business. I have a hard time agreeing with more residential. I think our schools are, an eye for an eye, and soon the whole world is blind. Our schools are terribly overcrowded. And I would love to see something else besides all the R2, or at least less of, especially that last row of the townhomes. It seemed like they put that right up against your neighborhood. To me, that would make much better green space than 19 shoot-in townhomes. And did they say what the price they felt might be?
They stated that Pulte is most likely going to be doing the homes, and that it will probably be mid-3s, low 4s.
So
But
still,
that's not set in stone.
still expensive for first-time home buyers. I think also the comment about phasing.
They-
How do you hold their feet to the fire?
So they are planning to do phasing. It's going to be 3 phases. They haven't submitted the phasing plans that they're going to do, but it will be based on kind of how the parcels all divide out. If you look at page 45 in your packet, the GDP plan, they'll have phasing of the townhomes, and I believe they stated that part of that is going to run concurrent with the Washington Street commercial phasing, and then the hotel and the daycare will be a different phase.
So 2 phases, or?
I believe it's 3 in total.
So the first would be?
The first, I think, is going to be a combination of the first row of townhomes and the upfront commercial portion. But
To the east side?
But I'm hoping that they will speak more to that on Monday night, as they've had more time to work on their phasing plans.
That's- So it's just about half, that was my other comment. I look forward to hearing from the developer and being able to ask and to vet, and hopefully we won't be rushed to make a decision too early. Thank you for your good presentation.
You're welcome, thank you.
Couple comments. First of all, the town sets the pace at which any project goes forward, so if we don't have sufficient information, then we get it, but we should respond in a timely manner,
Correct.
because we've been known to drag out decisions for months. What is that?
Oh, somebody's got tea going.
Somebody's card. So I think it's fair that, and I think you did a great job. I think we've had this for a week. So obviously, there's questions that we have that really only the developer can answer. I know you received, what is it, a 500-page impact traffic analysis over there. It's that thick docket there, and so it has been vetted.
It has, and, yeah.
And thus you have the comments, which you'll give us a copy before we leave. You know, every project since I moved to this town in 1997, it's always come down to traffic and schools. I worked for the school. I helped open Battlefield High School in 2004. It was built for 2050 students. Like the 3rd year in, we were overcrowded. It's been overcrowded. About the only year it wasn't overcrowded was 04, 05, when we didn't have a senior class. And then most of us in this town live in subdivisions that were built after that school opened. 3 subdivisions have been built, and every subdivision had the same issue. We don't want it, some didn't want it because it's going to present overcrowding. But again, it's something we need to look at. Traffic, pretty much every project we've had is, you know, traffic is right there at the forefront. No one wants to sit in traffic. I went into D.C. today. Traffic out here is nothing compared to 66 and inside D.C., especially on a rainy day. You know, walking, if we have the sidewalks tied in, whether we have 1 car going through here or 500 cars, speed limit's the speed limit. And my wife walks our dog every day. So, again, I appreciate the concerns, but, you know, the school's job is to help develop schools. And, you know, we have to look at the greater thing. It was mentioned in Citizens Time, you know, this one's doing this project and this one's doing this project. Well, what about the town of Haymarket? So, again, we need to have credible information to make an informed, intelligent decision to move it up to the town council to where they make the final decision. And I agree with Mrs. Carroll, we just need to hear them present their project. I mean, no one can guarantee what business is going to go anywhere. I do real estate. I know places that have planned to have certain businesses and they're sitting empty. First-time home buyers, if a first-time home buyer is going to buy a townhome that's in good shape for $370,000, they'll sell real fast. Because anywhere around here, to get a townhome in Bristow at $330,000, $340,000, you put them on the market, they're gone in 5 or 6 days. So, you know, it's our job to look at the law, what's on the books, and we have to separate our personal feelings to facts that are on the books. So I would really hope they come fully prepared, and if we don't feel like we have enough information, you know, if we wait a couple weeks and have a work session, I don't know how it's going to play out, but we need to do our due diligence. And to get this, and then public hearing and vote, I mean, let's be honest, that's stretching it. But, you know, we'll see what happens.
Why is there such a rush for this? I mean, this wasn't even on the books in April.
So it was, in April, they submitted their application, but I would like to rewind 2+ years. Fairgrounds came forward with an application. We were working on it, then their grocery store pulled out, so they put the application on hold. The application looks very similar to this, except they decided in this one to do fewer townhomes. So it's kind of been this application that was on hold. If you guys have been on planning commission, I think you guys said 3+ years, you've heard of it before. So then the Meladon group came in. They had been working, and I stated in our fall, I think December, January, somewhere in there, we had a meeting, and I let you guys know that Meladon was looking at the property over here at the fairgrounds. They were working on purchasing. They were going to bring the exact same fairgrounds application back with a few minor tweaks to it. So then they officially purchased in March, and they submitted in April. So, you know, it is a small town. And as a planner in this small town, I have time. I am here all day, every day, full-time planner. So I had time to work on this application. We didn't need to, you know, string it out for a year like Prince William County does. So I've reviewed it, and I have given it to you guys for your first round of review, comments, and discussion. We tried to hold a meeting earlier on this. I believe some commissioners were out of the country for an extended period of time. We couldn't hold our April meeting because we didn't have a quorum. We have to have 4 to have a quorum. So we did try in April to get this on a discussion meeting, but we couldn't do that. We couldn't do it in our regularly scheduled May meeting. So it's not necessarily that it's rushed, but we are bringing it to you guys as, you know, we owe that to the applicant. They've submitted their documents, and we don't need to sit on it since I'm here every day to work on it.
Why, though, is there a special meeting next Monday, joint town and PC, when the following Monday, they would be having a regular meeting? Couldn't we, I mean, why is this being?
The following Monday would be a holiday, and then we'd be into June.
Right, the
So-
June meeting.
Right, so that would be 2 weeks out. So, the applicant requested that we try to hold a special meeting. Shelley spoke with the chair and the mayor, and this was what was requested of the commission and the council.
I know as Planning Commission, we are going to be working on the comp plan, which is part of our basic job overview, which is both difficult and wonderful because it's the vision for the town. And the vision of this town is a walking town. And it also will entail a lot of discussion, a lot of input, and time. And I think the idea of time is important here. I'm hearing we feel rushed, this just came up, and time is good. I think all of us resist change, but we need time to process it, to find out what's the good in change or what are the difficulties in change. So I don't think we have had enough time with this, and I think that's what you're hearing, the pushback on that. And that's not you personally, Emily, because I think you've done a good job. And I need to say that.
I did find in a note that we had got that the April PC meeting was canceled because there was nothing coming up.
Okay.
So it was the May meeting, I think, that we had to do today because
So
we were away.
I apologize. They submitted their application on April 4th. That was your May meeting, or your April meeting. And I would have had to cancel your meeting 1 week prior to April 4th because I couldn't have gotten a public
So this
agenda
really
out.
was the first time that we could get together.
Right, we canceled 3 meetings in a row, as you all know, because we had no business. And my statement to you was, why should we have a meeting for the town to pay money when we open, we close? It's a waste of town's money. So I was the one who ultimately made the decision that we're not going to have a meeting because as the planner, there's nothing to talk about. So I think you did a great job. Let me back up. You did a great job. Let's get them in here. Planning Commission can ask their questions. The citizens will be here. And then we can discuss at that point. Either we have enough information or we don't. And if we don't, then we can certainly set a work session where we can come back and discuss it again. So we do this thoroughly because whatever's built, as I've said in the past, is we're going to live with for an awfully long time.
Right. May I make a request?
Sure.
So I did give this information to everybody prior to the meeting. I gave it to some of you guys a couple weeks ago. I know you guys were on vacation, but if you guys have questions, comments, coming here and opening our meeting isn't the only time you can talk. I have an office, I'm here all the time, so when these things come up, please reach out to me. Let's discuss it during the day. I can stay late, I can take phone calls, emails, but I think we can all be productive in the sense that we can discuss things outside of our meetings, so just please remember that and feel free to contact me with your questions.
And I just want to say, I had asked for a work session. I'd asked in an email, and the advantage a work session has is the synergy. Somebody says something, somebody has a question, I may not have thought of it. It rises, other questions rise from it, other understandings, other consensus, sometimes questions you don't even anticipate. So a work session has in it enormous benefits. Not that talking one-on-one with you, Emily, but I could leave and 10 minutes later think of 6 other questions, or not, and I should have thought of them. So I just want to, and that isn't on you, that's just a statement for the advantages of a work session.
I've gotten to know her well over the last 47 years. and She often thinks of things that we hadn't discussed.
You've had a lot of work sessions over.
Yes.
We've had many a work
I
session.
think every marriage has had a few work sessions.
And
All right, well, let's, there's no further business, so just for clarification, the developer will be here,
Correct. The
VDOT will be
developer-
here,
Not VDOT, their traffic engineer
Well,
who did the study, so
right? I
he
mean,
will
that's the
speak
person
on-
that's the traffic expert,
Yep.
okay? And then in the meantime, you know, I've gone through this, you and I have spoken, and I would encourage you prior to that meeting, if you have any questions, because we're bound by law to where we can discuss off-site where we have a meeting, but we're certainly able to call you
Yes.
and try to generate the questions, and then let's see what they say. I'm sure the citizens, I would hope we'd have more than 2 folks. Appreciate the 2 folks came out, but there's a lot of people in this town. Hopefully they will come out. It's been advertised, so appreciate everybody's time. And 3 months out, and we jump right back in.
Yes.
So, all right. I think you've kind of given us an update. Do we have a town council update?
Actually, I have a couple more updates.
Okay, sorry.
The diner, the Haymarket Diner, they were off the table for a little while. They are working right now on an application to bring to the Planning Commission. They want to pave the parking lot. Nothing's been approved, obviously. So they're going to bring that hopefully at our June meeting on June 6th. They'll have all the materials ready. So this would be at the old a la carte off of Route 15 right there. So that's one update.
They're going to do renovations to the outside?
Pardon?
Are they going to do any renovations to the
Yes,
outside?
so they're going to apply for their ARB application as well to do some repainting, a new sign, and then they're also going to do kind of a application. We did switch our building department to the county, so they're going to come in and let me know what they're doing inside, but they are doing interior renovations to make it a nice little diner with a sit-down counter and some tables and everything. So I think that'll be a nice addition for the town. We don't have a diner yet. So that's one update. We will be moving ahead with the pedestrian improvement project on Jefferson Street. This is going to connect the bridge to the intersection here, the sidewalk.
You're going to get the county to do the other side?
So we are working with getting the grant money in for that and doing all the proper documents. That'll probably, we're hoping construction will happen 1st of 2019, but we'll be working on the funding portion in the fall. You noticed down at the town park, we had a wonderful Eagle Scout build us a community garden. That was something we took through the ARB. Alexander Kelly did a awesome job, built us 16 individual little beds. Some of our town residents have rented them out free of charge. This is something we wanted to try to encourage citizens to come out and kind of take part in our park. We also did a little bit of housekeeping down there as well for Earth Day. And then the next two items I have that'll be coming up for you guys, we will have a special use permit application, which you are very, very familiar with. It is St. Michael's Academy. They will be coming to the June 6th meeting. I will be submitting the public hearing notices to the paper on Monday. And then I will also be, just like I did with this property, I will be posting the public notices on the property as well. So we're going to discuss that. What they would like to do with this special use application is they want to get rid of the modular. I believe there's 2 trailers there. They want to get rid of those. They want to move all the children inside the existing building, and they're going to do interior modifications for that. So it will be a little bit different application, but still. And then the other one is right here on Fayette Street. We have a gentleman who is looking to purchase this empty land that has a boat on it, and he would like to put 3 single-family residential units. He will do a subdivision. There'll be 3 individual parcels, and he's looking to bring his first round of site plans to the July meeting. And with that, July 4th will be the night of our meeting. Does July 5th work for everyone, or do we need to reschedule the July meeting?
July what date?
July 4th is the Wednesday. July 5th would be the next calendar day, so normally you would hold it the next calendar day. But I am open to moving it if people are going to be out on a vacation. We do have to have 4 present to have a quorum.
I will be here July 5th.
You're going to be jet lagged.
You'll be back on July?
I'm leaving from Nepal on July 4th.
That won't work for you.
And I will be here July 5th about 5 o'clock.
All right, so you should be plenty awake by 7. We'll serve peanuts and water. We'll take care of you.
We're still on German time right now.
All right.
Welcome back.
2 o'clock.
My wife just got back from Paris, so she can relate.
Yeah.
What about, sounds like that week with people traveling with basically being right smack dab in the middle of the week, and you have a weekend on either end. What about maybe the 11th, the following Wednesday? Do we have anything on that day?
Instead of the 5th.
Right, just kind of
Instead of
staying
4th,
away
we
from
can
the
have
July
it 11th.
4th week. I'm thinking, is that,
That
Is there a
sounds-
chance we could do a Monday or Tuesday? Kind of
Yes.
a standing
sure,
Monday, not
thing on
Tuesday.
the second Wednesdays.
It's
But
Tuesdays
if it
are
doesn't
good.
work, I
Oh.
can cancel.
Yeah.
or
Monday.
Monday would be
Monday.
good.
9th would be
the
fine.
9th or 16th?
9th,
No.
16th isn't good, but 9th is.
Monday the 9th
At 7?
at 7?
I'll be coming from JMU that day, but
Okay.
the vice chair could step in, and so that's going to be our PC meeting for July will be Monday the 9th, correct?
Monday the 9th,
Monday the 9th,
yes.
and we'll do it at 7 like usual. I just think it serves us well to stay away from that 4th of July with people traveling and stuff.
And does
What
it-
time? 7 o'clock, right? You say?
Yes.
Correct. I know Shelley sends out email reminders and like calendar invites so you guys can accept them and it puts it on your calendar. Is that work for everybody? Would you prefer?
It did work for me.
Because
Yes,
if you
yes.
prefer a different method so that we know you guys are coming, we will adapt.
Is there any way we could do like a text thread?
I'll defer that to our clerk.
Any way you could, we all have our cell phones all the time. It's just, it pops up.
It's easy, though, to do the calendar.
I am doing that calendar. Did you all receive the calendar for the month of May? Okay. Was that helpful? Did you receive that as well?
I didn't even open it, to be honest.
The
No,
cool
I
thing-
received the notifications, but I didn't open the
The
calendar.
cool thing about this is we all have it on our person all the time.
Yeah.
If it pops up, we can just hit accept and away we go.
I can do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about we try the cell phone route?
Or do
for the
both.
next month? Or do
Then
both.
you don't have
and
the
then-
option.
We can do both.
I did both
Yeah.
this time, yeah. So
I
that-
never got
that
anything
works.
on the cell, but, yeah, okay. And it's helpful setting them now in advance because we can put it on our planner. I'd rather do it in person than.
Yeah.
I do have one question, because I'm getting a lot of questions about the orange bands around all the trees behind
yes.
our house. I did talk to the mayor a while back. What is the plan on cutting those trees down, especially after the wind the other night?
We currently, I don't believe, have a plan. Our arborist did tag them all to come down because of disease, and certain ones are not structurally sound anymore with the big windstorms, thunderstorms, so forth. They are kind of hazardous to coming down and harming things. So I believe we're working on getting some bids for taking them down.
You know, one of the trees directly overhangs my house, so I have a special interest. A limb about this big around is right over the back end of our bedroom, and the other night when Beth and I were in the basement. So from a selfish motive, if we could speed that project along, because we've already had trees come down back there, as you all well know. We had 3 this past summer, and right directly behind my house are 4 orange bands, and the trees are all dead.
Yeah.
And a lot of my other neighbors as well. It really is a hazard,
Yes.
because the other night I thought for sure, I was shocked that none came down.
Okay.
And even where those people, if you look right out our kitchen, we look at all those little garden plots, which
Yeah.
I'm cool with, but there's even trees there. Somebody's back there working, one of those limbs would fall, and we can end up in a really bad situation. So I guess what I'm saying is, we have to look at the cost of liability versus taking these trees down.
I'll talk with Jerry. I know we're working on getting some bids, and then we will take care of it.
Okay? Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your hard work, Emily. You did a great
You
job.
did a great job on the
Yeah.
pros and cons, too. That was
Thank you.
excellent.
Town council update, do we have an update from there?
We had a regular meeting. It seems like it's been so long. We had the election, and did you guys all hear the results?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, congratulations, Madhu.
Thank you.
We look
Thank
forward
you.
to July 1 and having you as a council member. I don't really have
And the
That's about
ARB,
it.
do we have anything on the ARB?
ARB, typical applications, nothing too fancy going on. Jefferson Street house that was up for demolition did receive their demolition approval, but they can't tear it down until they bring you guys a site plan for 2 new homes that he's gonna put there. They also subdivided the parcel, so 2 can go in. This was done back in the summer of last year when Steve Garrison was here. They subdivided. So I'm hoping that's also going to come up soon for your review, the 2 single-family homes.
Did I hear we were going to have a going-away party for Big Fred?
We might soon. That is kind of still up for debate. So I guess kind of a town planner update I forgot to give you guys. I sent a letter to Stan Smith across the street and some other properties as well along Washington Street with the Mardo home and some other blighted properties to try to get them to start getting engaged again, realizing what their property looks like, and to clean it up. So the only person I've heard back from, sort of, is the property across the street. They sent an environmental assessment person out to come speak with me about getting property addresses. So he's working on the environmental assessment of Big Fred, the sheds behind it, and one other brown shed so he can prep a demolition application. So I haven't heard from the other few property owners that I sent letters to, so we will hold our breath and hope to see some cleanup soon.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
That would be important.
And that's, I think, all I have.
If Big Fred is important to the town, there should be something about him in the museum. I'm just saying, because I see the sign, everybody sees the sign, but I'm thinking if that's humorous or something that's fun, we should have a little plaque in the.
That was done in spite, that was
Oh,
not a
was it
good
spite?
thing, so.
I
Yeah,
don't-
Big Fred is not it's not a favorable thing. There was somebody who was very angry that put that up, but that's another discussion for another day, so. I think with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I
We have a
second.
second.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Tell us a story.
Tuesday night.
And we just got our suitcases today.
Hey, you didn't have to carry them home in the back of your.